Good evening, everybody. Sorry I am late. Today's mastermind call is about avoiding the hamster wheel. So I definitely want to talk about this. I think it's very important. When doing a reselling business or any kind of entrepreneurial journey, there's really only about 4 hours a day you can be creative and build processes and work on your store. The rest of the time, you are just doing sort of busy work, accounting, sourcing, etc., stuff that you're used to. And after a while, you're going to get into a groove where you do certain things. But what some people do is they use the 4 hours of their highest energy to do the basic stuff like listing and whatever. And then they don't have any energy left to build their business. And then you can, over time, you see people are not actually improving in their business. And they're doing the same thing year after year after year. And these are the people I like to call 15-year veterans that just have 1 year of experience 15 times because they're not improving. So I want to talk about structuring that day to day. Teresa, do you mind starting today? I was going to ask you what you can do to avoid this. Are you a morning person, an evening person? When are those 4 hours for you? And do you feel like this, if you've ever fallen into this?
I think it's a valid point. I think I do both. I mean, I have a superpower. I only have to sleep 4 to 6 hours, don't need an alarm clock. So I would say that probably the first 4 hours and the last 4 hours of the day are my most productive. So, I mean, and then I guess through the day you have to do, everybody has to ship. Everybody has to, listing every day. So I think that, and as far as that goes, we had this conversation so long ago. As far as that goes, mine's a little off because my office is at an Airbnb, and so now I have to worry about someone else's schedule to where I can, actually come to the office and work. And so it's just adjusting. I mean, it's not ideal for me in this situation, but for the money I make off the Airbnb, yeah, I'll adjust my schedule. So it's constantly adjusting for whatever suit, for whatever works. I mean, when I had my office at my house that I was living in, it was awesome. It was 52 steps to the office, and I'd literally get up and, go down to the office at 6:00 in the morning and, be down there or go out to the pool or do whatever, but I never left the house. And that was awesome. But now in this situation where I have to actually get dressed and go to the office every day or almost every day, it's just, it's not ideal. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. But for now, it's fine.
Are you able to separate working on the business versus working in it? Do you look at it like that?
Yeah. I think that I use a lot of think time in the car. It's only 3 miles to drive from my house to the office, but I use that time to think. You read something and I chew on it later, or when I'm falling asleep or waking up, you always think about the business, a different process or some, this week I was trying to figure out, I've got my minion. I was telling the group before you got here that she was my first minion I hired. She was 12 when I hired her. She's 17, just graduated from high school, going away to college at the end of August. So I get her for the whole summer. So I've spent the last week and a half or so trying to get an idea in my head of how to now do this with 2 people and use her and what her strengths are. And she's going to photograph and take some pictures for me because she does great listings, but that's not what I want her to do for the full time. I think she'd get burnt out. So, you have to adjust for what I would have her do on site is different than what I would have somebody else do on site. So I think you always have to think that way.
I got you. Yeah, I would agree. When people have a temporary helper, it definitely helps them rethink. And that's something that I want to suggest for people. I was just talking to Monica the Posh Hanger today, and she had mentioned that her sister is in town, and her sister was helping her do photographs, and her business is entirely different. She was actually able to work on Amazon this week, which is she wants to work on Amazon, but she never really gets a chance to do it because eBay eats the 4 hours of creative energy that she has. So at the end of the day, she ends up not working on Amazon because she's just so tired. And I do want to present another idea for you guys, which is Tino, the Soul Advisor, was telling me that he has 5 part-time employees and they only work 4 hours a day. They cannot work longer than 4 hours a day because what he has found is full-time employees, not only do they slack, but they end up quitting. So he has turnover when people work longer than 4 hours a day. So he's just saying, come in, be fresh for 4 hours, make as much as you can, enjoy your job. And he's looking for people who are looking for part-time work. I think that's really important when you're trying to find somebody year round that's available for a part-time gig. Because if you have a seasonal worker, I know with Monica, and I'm going to tell her this, when her sister leaves, she's going to be right back in the same position that she was before, back on that hamster wheel, which we're trying to avoid here. So I know it's hard to find somebody who's permanent, but that's a really good way to get to the next level. Let's go with Craig. Craig, good morning. Good morning. Wow, good evening. Let me know what. Yeah, is your 4 hours better in the evening or in the morning?
In the morning. I find myself to be more creative in the morning. So what I do, I have my standard routine that I think I emailed you a long time ago, but I find myself from the hours of, I get up at 4 in the morning, 4:30. So from the hours of 4:30 until noon, I block that off as creative time. Even at my 9 to 5, I don't schedule anything during that time. So that's my time of where I'm either helping people or thinking of ideas or just doing, I call it a brain dump. I'm dumping all my thoughts and ideas on paper. I do the mastermind call, which is halfway in between that. That helps like re-energize me, thinking again. And then then I have lunch. Then I work the rest of the day, crank out all the stuff back to the 4 hours. So I have 4 hours from lunch, from 12 until 4, that I'm cranking out all my work, my busy work, my emails, my correspondence, maybe some meetings, stuff like that. Getting that done. And then instead of going home right away, I find myself hitting the gym for 45 minutes to an hour, get home, and I got some energy. I'm doing some stuff with the business, and then it's family time after that. So family time has gotten adjusted till 7 o'clock, so I got some time there. But that's what
Love
it
it.
works. That's the way I do it.
Love it. Bill, good evening. It's late over there in Florida. What are you working on? Are you better 4 hours in the morning or 4 hours in the evening?
Definitely the morning. And I have to think through about if I'm applying those 4 hours correctly. And I don't have an answer off the top of my head.
I think you are, from knowing you, because you do shipping at the end of the day, which most people do shipping right away, and that you're just wasting your valuable energy on
Yeah,
the least hard part.
yeah.
So
I don't do any shipping in the morning.
Hmm.
Today was a good day because everybody that was working in the business uh, actually worked in the business. I didn't work in the business today after our call this morning.
Hmm.
I focused on recruiting all day, and with the exception of a few questions. So my lister came in, she worked. My wife did photographs. Alejandro started the Macari listings, and we ended up selling another 8 or 10 things today after the main delivery. So he made 2 runs to the post office, and I placed a big order with Brooks. So it was a pretty productive day.
That's great.
And Brooks says I'll have a pallet of stuff coming either at the end of this week or early next week. So I'm excited about that.
Incredible. Great stuff. And you definitely do focus on the right things because you immediately were thinking about outsourcing some of these basic tasks to other people. So
Yeah.
that's a much better use of your time. Let's go, Jack. Jack, good evening. Thank you for joining. What are you working on? Are you an evening person or a morning person?
Probably more so evening person. I do a lot of sourcing during the day because that's when stores are open, obviously, when I am sourcing. I've been focusing a lot on looking deep dive at my numbers on Amazon, looking at what is producing the most income for me. And I found that for me, thrifting, of course, is the highest ROI for me, but isn't quite scalable. What I found was kind of surprising is buying books from other sellers through software like eFlip was, I think, my number 3, and then buying eBay to flip to Amazon was my number 2. So I'm really working on looking at systems for that kind of stuff. And the lowest ROI was online arbitrage for me, even though that probably is the most scalable for me. And it is something I want to do more, but focus more on Q4, and then kind of look more into developing a system for identifying items I can flip from eBay to Amazon, because that is super, super profitable. And I didn't even realize how profitable it was for me before looking at my numbers in a deep dive.
That is amazing, Jack. That the things that are the most scalable, most people work on the least, right? They just, because it's easier to get that immediate dopamine. If you go look for something, find it, and then you can flip it. But that's not for the future. That's challenging. So maybe if you're an evening person, that's when you would start looking into the OA opportunities. It's definitely scalable and trainable. And also I want to make one more point that Jack reminded me of. I had mentioned to you guys that I find that one of the most valuable tasks that's in the business is describing items. So I recommend you do that first. If you're still working in the business, the first thing you should do is describe your items, because preventing returns, and that's very interesting because Tino also mentioned that his customer service manager gets a 1% commission on the entire thing. But if she ships out something wrong, it comes out of her paycheck. So I was like, wow, that's very smart. Giving your customer service manager the ability to make those decisions and a piece of the pie means they'll care a lot more. And that's one way out of this hamster wheel of doing everything by yourself, is getting somebody. So Tino's goal was to make $200,000 net and split it with his partner and not use any of his own money. Take somebody else, all their money, all their systems. He does all the work and process. Completely somebody else doing it, meaning somebody goes out and buys the shoes for the system. Listers, customer service, and the customer service person is also the shipper. And they are the manager that people are talking about, the person that does the work and oversees the whole thing. And we talked about, if you're trying to sell an eBay business, you need the buyer and you need the customer service manager that handles all the issues. That's the hardest part. Shipping, listing, photography. That's the easiest to outsource. Cool. So let's go with Stephanie. Stephanie, good evening. Thank you for coming. You're in the lair. You're in the what's it called? What's a woman version of the man cave?
Oh, a she? I don't know. A she shed. I
She
don't
shed.
know.
That's right. Thanks for joining us from there. So, what are you more productive in the morning or evening?
In the evening. In the morning, I have so many things going on, just with the kids and just appointments and things like that. But usually, it gets to be the evening, and that's when I work the best. So, but I try to, just because of my daycare situation and family, I try to have everything done by 5. So I usually come downstairs for about an hour a night and try to at least get some things done, or I'll get on when I get on the computer is when I do my best work at night. My most efficient, I feel like.
So I want you to maybe talk about how you've been able to improve your computer skills, because when I first met you, you said that was an area that you wanted to improve on, and now you seem pretty fluent on at least what you need to get done on the computer.
Yeah.
How are you able to build that skill?
Just doing it every day. And I think, it helped me a lot when I hear, I know Michelle said it a couple times, and when she's brought it up, everybody else has chimed in. It's that, I think she said it about making her YouTube videos. She's like, I spent 8 hours on something and then it got deleted or what, and to me, it just sticking with it. When I would go and edit a listing and it would take me 10 minutes and then I would do the entire thing. And it would be an old listing and I would lose the pictures and it takes me forever to do something. So it kind of helps me hearing other people say that they struggle with things and they and just seeing that they stick with it, you know. So that's really just, I do it every day and I suck at it, and I just try to, I don't know. I mean, like the Dymo printer, for example, I would lump that with my computer skills because it's just technology. I mean, I'm still struggling with the Dymo printer, and it's been like going on 2 weeks. And, you know, I mean, I've spent more on labels than it cost me to buy the freaking printer. And I'm like, in the long run, it's going to save you time, which is going to save you money. Just stick with it. Don't be mad about it. And that's just what I do, is just try to not get mad about it and just keep saying, well, I don't know, that 8 hours could have been, I don't know, just in the long run, it'll pay off. That's all I do.
That's a good point to bring up. I think that a lot of times people only see the successes, and Jack is right. Dymo printers suck. Like, I have one, and it's caused, I've wanted to throw it out of the house many times because it jams and it wastes 2 sheets every single time you plug in a new set of labels. It's probably one of the worst. It is very cute, so a lot of people like to get it to get started, but you know, that's the one I was introduced to. But as far as commercial printers, it's not something that people use usually commercially, but mine does now work every time, but it still wastes 2 labels when I put in a new roll, which is extremely frustrating.
Yeah. The right side of mine, if there's paper in it, it just feeds and feeds nonstop, just these like a grid.
Yep.
And I had messaged the person that I got it from, and I got one that came with the scale, and that was the last one that he had. And so, and he wants to charge me, I don't know. It's just a mess. I'm like, I'm just going to keep the broken one because I've already got my settings and my computer set up for it. And if I send it back, then I'm going to have to move to my old one, which I'll be pissed off about. I'll just use the one side and leave the right side empty and call it a day. And then when I'm ready to upgrade, then I'll deal with it then. And just, you know, whatever. Take the time as a loss, I guess. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any, you know, spectacular, you know, advice as far as what's helped me to just, other than just trying to stay patient, be patient, and not get as frustrated, and, you know, taking into consideration that everybody has things that they struggle with, and that I'm just at a different point in my reselling career than everybody else is. And it'll, you know, I mean, I'm getting so much faster every day. So that's encouraging as well. And my store's growing, my sales are getting a lot better. So, you know, sticking with it.
I think it's also important to recognize that when you are growing, everything breaks. So that's a good sign. It's it will all level out. Injuries happen when you go beyond, when you're going too fast. And in reselling, the injury is usually just too much bad purchasing. So as long as you don't do too much bad purchasing, I think you will be fine. Overall, you can recover. It's not a career ender. Let's go with Matt. Matt, good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's dark out in the wilderness. Are you more of a morning person or evening?
Morning for sure.
Okay. Do you think about tasks? Like, are you working on the business versus just the normal tasks day to day?
Well, mostly I'm working in the business now. You know, I've pretty much got what I want set up, and I just execute at this point. But that's only going to let me maintain what I have, you know. Yeah, I need to get a little bit better at it.
I'm going to basically force you to each week think about how to get a little bit more. Either same amount of stuff done in less time, or a little bit more, or the always idea of how can you replace yourself, and at what point would you be the missing, like, I always think it's funny when my old boss used to say that the company runs better when he's not there, because it really does. Like, he's trained the people that work there so well. He just gets in the way when he's there because everyone is so good at their specific job. I would love to like get to that position where you did that good of a job that everyone in the company is better at their position than you could do. That's amazing. So just an idea.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And I completely get what you're saying about the 4 hours, you know, because I've had 17 or 18 jobs, and none of them were fulfilling to me because I didn't have the personal risk. the responsibility,
Mhm.
and now that I've done this, once I got to like that part where I was like, yeah, I got an income coming in. I'm only working 20 hours a week. Screw it. Just keep it where it is. But then, I really want to get it going now. I want to get it farther along. So that's really what I'm trying to focus on now, growing it more to the point where I'm earning way more than a full-time income, and I can hire an employee or two, get them going, train them, get a right-hand man, get that guy doing everything.
I love it. Somebody is on an iPhone that I don't know. Is it possible for you to chat? And do you want to introduce yourself if you can talk? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But let's go to Jeff. Jeff, good evening. Thank you for joining. Do you want to talk about, are you more of a morning person or evening?
Definitely morning person. Yeah, although I think I focus on some things that I probably shouldn't focus on in the morning, going through my emails and shipping stuff, that takes away from my productive time. So that's one thing I know I need to change. Focus on things that just improvements that will really help me while I'm fresh in mind. And yeah.
That is huge. If you can move your email checking, shipping after you work on something very hard, like let's say accounting or new sourcing opportunities, that's much more difficult than shipping, right? So if you move that to the front of the day, it definitely changes, especially if you're a morning person. You shouldn't be doing any of that in the morning.
Well, I'll relist things in the morning. I don't know if that's the right time to be doing it or not.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
No.
Because that can take a while unless I have data mine do it, which I probably will. Yeah, I change that definitely.
Yep. Jeff, I think you would definitely benefit from writing down the different tasks that you can do and then definitely ranking them on importance. Everyone in the group should do that. Like, what is it that you're working on? So, when we go back to Jack and he's talking about his online arbitrage, it's probably what he works on the least as well. So Jack, how would you actually approach that? How do you make online arbitrage or scalable things more of a priority? How do you change your day?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot recently, looking at the income I have available to invest in stuff like this. I try to block out a little bit of time for it. I was trying to block out about an hour today to look into new sourcing opportunities and just kind of force myself to look into it. I am pretty good at like getting some stuff done with it. Like I've been focusing really hard on books for August because that is coming up right now, and this is kind of the best time to buy books to send in. I spent like a significant amount on books from other sellers, but yeah. I would like to continue to scale. I do have some more available capital to it, and just kind of looking into more opportunities and just kind of blocking out time to force myself to kind of look through that kind of stuff.
Do you think you'd want to change settings? Do you feel like it's a different room? Because I'm just curious. Like, I think it's a very different set of skills of looking for new sources versus looking for books. That's very much hunting versus developing.
Right. Yeah. I like. I think I probably just need to block out a little bit of extra time to do it. I'm generally really happy with how reselling is going for me, and so I can't complain too much about like what's going on because everything has been continuing to go really well with it. I'm just kind of looking into ways to continue to scale my business and keep the momentum going with it. So I'm actually really happy with how stuff is going right now, and just trying to kind of get be able to use my capital a little bit better, as well as kind of really crush August for textbooks as well.
What would be the best use of your capital, do you think? 100% OA?
I'm still trying to figure that out now. Like I have been focusing a lot more on getting lines of credit open. I kind of slacked on that a little bit last year where I didn't have as much credit as I needed for Q4. Like I could have bought quite a few more video games and more stuff for Q4 if I had more lines of credit available to me. And that's the one thing that I was really trying to work on this year. I opened up probably about 50,000 more in credit cards this year. So everything's going pretty well with that, and kind of looking to have more available capital for Q4 to be able to spend more during that time period. So kind of getting ready for that right now by testing it and making sure I can spend as much as possible during Q4.
We do have a little bit of time for somebody to, if they have a specific question they want to address or some kind of concern, you can either put it in the chat or just have a question. But I was going to ask Teresa to break down your day a little bit, because you have a lot of projects, and I really am. I'm always curious how you separate your day, because with Airbnb is very different from Amazon or eBay, and you do a lot of work where you also are a community developer, which I have determined is the largest waste of time for me, but I will never stop doing it. So I'm gonna just how do you fit that in?
Yeah, the community work, it's zero pay, but I get a lot of rewards from it too, which is, I'm sure you do, which is why we do it. Just being, involved and immersed in the community. It's I'm trying to figure out my new normal, because 2 years ago I moved in with my mom to help her out, and that's turning into a lot more time commitment than I thought it would be. And so, she's now, starting last week, she's going to physical therapy 3 times a week, and she has her car sits very low to the ground, and because of her physical therapy, she can't get in and out of her car very easily. So I'm taking her to physical therapy 3 times a week, and that's a 4-hour chunk out of my day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that is, but, this is what I love about this job, is that I can do this, and that's number one. Family's number one. So what I figured out is I've never liked listing on a phone. I hate it, but I take the pictures on the phone, and while I'm there, I start drafts, and I won't ever list them completely off the phone, just because I miss too many things. I hate the phone app. And so that's something that I just started doing I did it a couple of weeks ago. She had to have some minor surgery, and I did it while I was waiting for her at the hospital. And so now that's like, okay, I got to get my pictures done before Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I have something to do for those. She's actually only in physical therapy for about 2.5 hours, but and so it's like you have to continually adapt and change, and you can't. I mean, this. You've changed so many different times and ways from when you started almost 2 years ago. Is it 2 years or 3 years? Year and a half, about, right?
2 years roughly, full time.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So it's just, when I bought the Airbnb, the idea was that I would come over here and work in the office every day. And then I found that a lot of guests didn't read because nobody reads, and they didn't realize that I would be here on the property. So I just decided to increase my prices and just put in the listing that I'm only here for about an hour to ship, so I don't work from this space. So, I don't know. I think I ship at the end of the day. I generally ship, I start shipping around 3:00 in the afternoon. I have same day delivery, so that cutoff is at 2. Same day shipping, so that cutoff is at 2. I don't know. It's just, I think that just like any job, the fires rise to the top. So, you've got to put out the fires first. And, right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings are taking my mom to physical therapy. And so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's like, okay, I have my whole day to do what I want to do. And, there's other things. I have church commitments. I have, work commitments. I have, eBay commitments. And everybody has commitments. It's just something different. Somebody has, somebody may have carpool. Somebody may have, I just think I don't think I do anything special. I think I juggle. I juggle a lot. I think I cover up how much I juggle very well. So like normally Tuesdays was my day to do, I sourced every Tuesday. And then sometimes it would take, and then the idea was to take 2 or 3 days to get it listed, and then to get it processed and shipped to Amazon. And then the idea was to spend 4 days, 3 or 4 days to do eBay for the rest of the week, but that didn't work. So you adjust.
Yep. So I'm actually going to call it an evening for everybody. Thank you for coming. But the homework for next time is I want everyone to think about what activities are revenue generating. And usually that is leverage, which is what Jack mentioned, focusing on having great credit, because that is massive. Because the worst thing that can happen is you finally get an opportunity and you can't capitalize on it. So leverage is huge. The scalability as far as which category can you actually scale in, multiplying yourself by hiring people, accounting, bookkeeping, legal, all that stuff is very hard work. You want to do that as early in the day as you can. So all revenue generating stuff, and then the busy work, let's put that at the end of the day. The purpose of this call and calls like this for people who are watching this publicly is to create something that you can actually take a break from, because this is one of the few occupations where you can sort of dictate your entire schedule. But that being said, some people never can take any vacation and never get out of this. I call it the reseller hamster wheel. So I appreciate everyone stopping by, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take care.